Let's talk about the detriment of every time you self-abandon in that micro moment where you don't use your voice. You're actively knocking down your own confidence. You're actively knocking away your own ability to trust yourself.
Hey there, it's Patrice Washington, and I want to ask you a question. Have you ever stopped to consider how much power you've given away to the stories that you tell yourself? My good friend Rachel Luna, who you know this season is dedicated to, in her book Permission to Offend, she talks about the idea of activating your truth. And she makes it really clear that so much of our struggle comes from the meaning that we keep assigning to things. Doesn't mean it's the truth, it's the meaning that we keep assigning. And now what's fascinating is that our guest today, Tracy Litt, who is a global visionary and the founder of the School of Becoming, takes this even further. She's known for saying that nothing inherently has meaning, but that every thought is optional and every moment is a choice. Think about that for a second. If every thought is optional, that means that you are never trapped by your circumstances, only by the story that you keep attaching to them. And that's why this conversation is so important for us here at Redefining Wealth, because you know that I believe, and have been saying this for 8 years now, wealth isn't just about money. It has always been about our well-being. And our well-being is shaped moment by the truths that we choose to live by. If you want to step into authentic success, you have to be willing to challenge that default thinking. You have to be willing to rewrite the stories that you're telling yourself and claim the kind of meaning that moves you forward instead of keeping you stuck in patterns that really just don't serve you. So today, I'm so excited because we're going to weave together Rachel's call to activate your truth with Tracy's brilliance, an unapologetic reminder that meaning is ours to make. Because when we realize that every thought is optional, we do give ourselves permission, not just to offend, but to redefine wealth for ourselves, to claim our power, and to know what freedom really looks like for us. Now, before I bring up Tracy, I want to share with you that, again, we've moved the affirmations of the week to be permission slips for this season in honor of Rachel. So here is this week's permission slip. I give myself permission to activate my truth. I give myself permission to speak what is real for me at all times, even when my voice shakes. I release the stories that silence me and choose words that set me free. I trust my inner knowing more than the need to trust outside approval and validation. I honor my truth as sacred, knowing it as a gateway to my peace, my power, my purpose. And I stand rooted in authenticity, unapologetic, unfiltered, unafraid, and aligned because I know that my truth is not just my liberation, my truth also liberates you. I give myself permission to activate truth. Without further ado, here is Tracy Litt. Welcome to the Redefining Wealth podcast, Tracy.
Thank you. Oh, I feel already so much texture, so much divinity, and I am honored that I get to be here to have this conversation, to ensure Rachel's legacy, and I'm ready to rock.
So let's go. So Tracy, first of all, from the first time I met you, which we were both speaking at an event earlier this year, and we did this virtual summit. And the moment that I heard your voice, I leaned in. I said, well, who is this woman? What is happening here? Why can I feel her words? I'm not just hearing, I feel it in my body. So I knew that I was going to love you. And then we get to this event in Newport Beach. And from the moment I hugged you, I was like, oh, this is my girl. We've known each other before. I don't know how, I don't know where. And even the things that have led up to you being my first interview of this season have been just so divine. But can I tell you, Rachel was all about neuroscience. And I invited you before I even realized how connected your work really is, because you blend science and spirituality through your methodology, neural identity.
Mhm.
And I'm like, this makes sense why you would drop in my spirit as the first interview of this season. So I am pumped.
Me too. Divine alignment.
I have a client who is
Mm.
going to be listening to this episode. I know. Shout out to Sonia. I was coaching her just a few days ago. And I said, what does this season represent for you? And she said, hmm. And she was like, I think divine alignment.
Oh, okay. See, because frequency
The
doesn't lie.
frequency is real.
Yeah.
Okay, Tracy. So
Okay.
give us the story. Have you always been just this magnetic, generous, like radiant soul? Was there ever a Tracy Litt that did not know who she was or lived from stories that did not serve her?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. There was a version of me who I loved deeply, who was operating under the lie of her unworthiness. And as a result, landed in a relationship that was a match for that identity, that landed her as a single mother with an 8-month-old baby, which was a match for that identity, who was on food stamps, which was a match for that identity. And that moment in time was the first dark night of the soul that awakened me to the level of victimhood I was actually operating in. And something that I think is really important to underscore here, and we are going to illuminate this for this whole community, you aren't realizing that you are actually still living in victimhood. You are not actually recognizing all of the places and people and moments where you are abdicating your power. And in order to activate your truth, in order to experience your capacity, your greatness, and your impact in this lifetime, you have to move through radical personal responsibility, the honesty behind the honesty, and you have to be willing to be so uncomfortable that you're almost nauseated by what you recognize that you've been tolerating and how you've been operating.
That is how I describe radical honesty. For years, I've been talking about radical honesty being just that uncomfortable truth where we get to look at ourselves before we start telling everybody else. It's like, no, we get to look at ourselves and interrogate and examine and go, how did I get here? What was going on for me at that time? And not from a place of shaming. You said it as that earlier identity, or you became a match for that identity. So the things that we were experiencing is because that is the identity we were living from.
Right.
And I have this thing about recognizing that it's not fair to my younger self to weaponize the wisdom I have today against her. That girl was doing the best she could with what she knew to be true at that time, or what she believed to be true at that time.
Yes, 1,000%. And I think what's coming through right now is the overarching theme, right? Because you just said when we recognize the honesty, when we step up, because everybody, you got to step up, okay? That what happens is the current identity wants to shame you. The current identity wants to make you feel like shit. And the other thing I want to really just drop right here is you will never activate your truth or step into your greatest capacity if you are against yourself. And that's what it really comes down to. And I know in the spirit of Rachel, like she wants us to be having a more elevated conversation. At what point can we be done with the analogy that you have to put your oxygen mask on first? That you wouldn't, how many more times do you need to hear you wouldn't speak to your best friend like that, or you wouldn't speak to your child like that? And if you want to start to understand, because the practical application is so critical to me, how is what we do at the School of Becoming. You need to untether from that habit of limitation yesterday. You are you. How dare you be against yourself? It doesn't even make any sense. Right? And we can't get to radical honesty if we aren't unconditionally loving and compassionate about the earlier versions that did everything she could based on where she was and what she knew. And elevate our consciousness to go, wait a minute. When we recognize something, it's just data, babe. It's just data.
It's just
right.
data.
That's all it is. And that's what elevating consciousness means, like in practical application. To become a highly conscious woman and a highly conscious leader is to recognize that everything, we get to approach everything, which is similar to nothing means anything, like this. Isn't that interesting?
Yes.
Oh, bring it on. That is so good. Look at that data. And then you actually get like excited.
So Tracy, just yesterday, I was doing my daily live in the Redefining Wealth app. And I was saying that I was talking to my coach earlier and I felt this shift. She was guiding me through this, not looking at anything from, well, what happened there? What made me do that? Or why? It was from, wow. From more curiosity than judgment, from more, just really tapping into paying attention to what the atmosphere was at that time. What was the vibe? What was the mood? Like sometimes in my own case, the last year and a half or so has been riddled with grief. And I was telling the community in the app, there was a service provider that I let stay on too long, right? And I'm like, what made me do that? And then I said, no. Wow. First of all, it's amazing that I was able to continue to do all these things in this season where I lost 5 people in 6 months last year. And now Rachel this year. I'm like, the last thing that I was concerned about was switching out this particular service provider. And when I looked at it just from a different lens, it immediately dropped any story about me being irresponsible or why did I not pay more attention or this or that. I'm like, that wasn't the top of the list. So, wow, look at okay, I'm collecting data. What was happening at that time in my life? Okay. So of course I was just making it through, honestly, and dealing with my grief. And I'm so grateful for how tender I was with myself in that season, for the things that I did not overly complicate at that time. And I just kind of let that happen because I'm taking care of me in this moment. But to get to this place and then look back and go, what was she doing? Yeah. She was really sitting with the fact that she lost 3 people back to back that she really loved. That's what she was doing. And wow, look at how she made it through that season. Look at how she held that grief and the gratitude for having those people in her life. Wow, look at how much she still was able to show up and serve her clients. Wow, look at how she still, and I just got to wow myself right back in to a loving place and not a place of judgment. And it happened within minutes.
First of all, yay for you, because that is a massive win. And I want everyone to take a moment. I like to play this game like futuring the trajectory, right? So imagine a world where you would have allowed judgment to be in the lead, and where that would have landed you in then feeling even worse, and then being deeper in a story, and then driving whatever old emotional addictions of shame or guilt, and insecurity that you have already moved past, right? Versus where you landed, which is curiosity. Side note, your brain can't actually be in judgment and be curious simultaneously. It actually is neuroscientifically impossible. Right? So when you shift into curiosity, what you're doing is you are now making it easier to live in the truth of the neutrality, because nothing means anything until you make it mean something. It's called isness. This is part of our teachings, right? It's isness. It simply is, because the truth is everything is inherently neutral. And if we are still in the habit of judgment, then there is no ability to hit neutrality, because the judgment becomes the underpinning of the next series of thoughts, thus becoming the story. What's a story? It's a bunch of thoughts strung together into some paragraph or two.
Mm-hmm.
And then you are focused and experiencing the opposite of what you say you want, because you're hanging out here so that you can embody your next level of wealth in all its definitions, and you can be the fullest expression of yourself, and you can activate your truth, and you can use your voice, and you can shine like the disco ball you are. Yet you're not even recognizing that everything about your habits and behaviors and your focus and your thought processes are actively pulling in the opposite of that. And now you're feeling even worse, because you're like, but I'm doing all the things, but you're not realizing that the core thing is the internal infrastructure that's working completely against everything you're working so hard for.
That was so much like of why I think my work at Redefining Wealth has shifted, because I came into this as a personal finance expert. 8 years ago, I was like, well, I have a slightly different spin on personal finance education. I'm just, and then as I started to coach people and launch programs and just support all of these women, I'm like, I know that I'm coaching well. Like, I know I'm telling you the things. There's something else going on here internally that's preventing you from being able to take those steps you know to take. Mm-hmm. Like, there is something else, which is what sent me down the path of all the things, doing the deeper work and financial psychology and, and dipping my toe into neuroscience. I'm not you and Rachel. This is why I have you here, right? Like all those things. But I'm like, there is more here than let me set some goals and climb the corporate ladder or build a big business. It's like, there's way more going on underneath the surface. You talked about matching, being a match for the identity. Mm-hmm. How do you see this play out with high achieving women in particular who have already reached some level of success and they may like shoot up and have great success, and then they find themselves crashing down a couple years later, and then they get some spark of inspiration and they launch something else, and then they do really well, and then it goes back down? What is happening when we are going up and down?
So the inside, let's say, of the high achieving woman profile is one of unconscious proving, right? So all of us, because I'm a high achiever too. Sometimes I like to say recovering high achiever, right? And achievement is awesome, but the rise and fall is because of where you're coming from and who you're being when you achieve. The achievement is connected to something or someone that you are proving wrong, or the belief that you have to prove yourself, or the continued perpetuation of the pattern that in order for you to get the love that you needed by the people who raised you, you had to get it right, be perfect, achieve something. So it perpetuates this constant spin of, am I good now? Do you love me now? Am I valuable now? And it keeps the high achiever in this constant state of dysregulation that you don't realize is dysregulation, because you've got it so under control. And you're carrying all the plates and you're so damn good at it that you have this warped sense that it's this badge of honor. But then we dip because it is the least sustainable way of being in the world. And then we have that like reprieve, and maybe we rest or maybe we take a break. And it's not typically because you're like, it's time for me to slow down. It's because you physically are being pushed to stop. And because we're not really healing it in a conscious way, not a something's broken, fix it way, you get the next idea and you've rested just long enough, but not really, to rev it up again and get the other carrot and go, look at what I did. And none of it is coming from your soul, and none of it is coming from your truth. And none of it actually feels good, because the old paradigm of high achievement is one where you are continuously chasing the external so that you can be valuable, whole, worthy, insert whatever word is true for you here. And the biggest lie we were all sold, that everyone operates under until they don't, is that the outside creates the inside. Mm-hmm. Right? That's why we're all externally dependent until we realize, oh, wait a second, hold on a second. I can become my own approval. Yeah. I can become the loving parent to myself because my parents were unhealed and had no idea what was happening. Mm-hmm. I can know that I don't have to wait on anything or anyone to be a certain way or act a certain way or say anything to me. I am so whole and safe within myself that I know I don't need to be liked at all. Right. And this is so important because we're talking about permission slip. We're talking about activating your truth. And if you continue to live attached to the external world, you will never move out of the current identity that is driving this perpetual, when's the next carrot? When's the next carrot? You're not celebrating yourself. You're operating. There's this common thought process of, if I stop, if I slow down, the other shoe's going to drop. All of the things I've worked so hard for, I'm going to lose that momentum. And then what's going to happen? And all of that is such a lie. Lean in here because I'm going to tell you something. You are the shoe. You are the shoe. You haven't recognized what real power is, because when you live from the outside in, you are operating in the absence of your power. Yeah. And when you go, oh, hold on a second, I think I might be picking up what she's putting down. My true, full embodied power exists when I become a woman that knows the inside creates the outside. And that's when we become all the words you said at the beginning of this conversation: untouchable, unabashed, unapologetic. You think you're doing any of those things if you are riddled with caring what people think of you? If you are riddled with needing someone's approval? Like, I teach something called take me or leave me, either way, awesome. Right? And that's the version, that's the evolved identity that we must move into for two reasons. Number one, because that's how you're going to live the life that is wealthy and rich and satiating and fulfilling. And you're going to get to the end of your life and you're going to be like, hell yes, I didn't abandon myself. Okay. Mm-hmm. So you need to do this for you. And then the actual bigger reason is because this is bigger than me and you and all of us. Mm-hmm. And we have a divine moral responsibility as women that are committed to rising, to stop talking shit about it and actually embody the version of ourselves that are unapologetic and know that we are the permission slip. Because when we move about the world that way, we each have the center of influence, right? Imagine like 1,000 women and only 6 of them are shining, right? But now all of a sudden 12. And now 36, and now 42, and now 80, right? It's like boom, boom. And now all of a sudden the lights are happening. And that's the rise of the collective. Yeah. So what I am like begging right now for women to do is recognize that this is actually bigger than you. And if you stay allowing yourself to shrink and hedge and and believe every thought you think, you're actually hurting all of us. And that's not cool.
I say the same thing. We have a responsibility, even when it's uncomfortable. I think, and it is uncomfortable. Okay. Transformation is uncomfortable. You are pruning, you are shedding, like things are dying around you, and not literally people, but there's so much that has to die in order for you to rise. And we don't want the discomfort of acknowledging what has to die.
Yes, yes. This is so beautiful, this moment. Because the discomfort is a requirement. Mm-hmm. And one of the things we get to do, like in the practical application of this conversation, is learn how to get comfortable being uncomfortable. Learning how to sit with yourself when your body feels like it's being ripped in half. Learning how to make it safe in your nervous system when you realize someone is grossly misunderstanding you, but it's your responsibility to sit there and make it safe to be misunderstood, without saving it and making it better, right? Like I question sometimes, do we really understand what discomfort in growth actually feels like? Because it is a physical sensation. It's not just a cognitive, like, oh, I think I might be uncomfortable. And because most women are so disconnected from their bodies, which is, by the way, where our power lives and how you can do any amount of nervous system work that's required, we're so disconnected from our bodies that as soon as some level of discomfort comes in, your adaptive behaviors just come in to make sure that that pain goes away. And you're no further than you were before because you're not actually allowing yourself to grow your tolerance for how uncomfortable you can be.
Mm. What does it feel like, Tracy? What are some ways that people in a practical way can know that's what they're experiencing, especially when they are desiring to activate their truth and be radically honest and finally say the things and they are met with furrowed brows or, you know, that look that's disapproving, or they're met with silence. And you know this, and even in sales, when people are met with silence, they rush in to fill the space,
Yes.
right? Instead of just
Yes.
sitting and letting it happen. So what does it actually feel like?
Yeah, it'll feel different for everyone. And once you start to really grow your awareness, which is domino number one for anything, anything you're gaining from this conversation, domino number one is you have to build your skill of noticing and awareness. And I want you to do it interoceptively, which means interoception is your ability to sense what's happening inside your body and also start to grow awareness on your behavior. So let me explain. So it might feel like, whew, I realize my palms are getting super sweaty, like I'm in this conversation and they just did the furrow brow thing. And oh my God, my palms are sweating. What's going on, right? It might be my knees. For me, it's my knees. My knees are shaking, like just something feels a little bit like wonky in my knees. It might be an elevated heart rate. You might feel like your body like contract, like, oh my God, all of a sudden I don't feel safe. I don't feel safe, right? So those are some interoceptive things that you might pick up on. The other thing that's really cool to grow awareness on is what's the adaptation that comes flying in? Because what's really happening in that moment, when we're uncomfortable, our nervous system is perceiving we're unsafe. But the thing about it is you're totally safe, okay? Your nervous system is wired for survival, and it only has one question that it asks 24/7, 365. And the question is safe or unsafe, 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 just on repeat. And anything that's unknown and unfamiliar is always perceived as unsafe to your nervous system. And when your nervous system perceives that it's not safe, the reflexive trauma response steps in, your fight, your flight, your freeze, your fawn, right? So let's say if fawn's like your typical, and then all of a sudden you're in that moment and you notice, wow, I'm like just saying everything this person wants to hear. And I'm observing myself, and there are these words coming out of my mouth, and I'm not standing in my truth at all. I'm not actually saying what I think. And I'm just like, okay, yeah. And I'm just like people pleasing the situation, right? Or you might notice like, whoo, okay, I'm standing here and I feel like I can't move. I feel kind of frozen. And then you realize that you start to control the situation, right? So as soon as our system feels unsafe, the adaptive behaviors that are so fabulous because they've allowed you to live to this moment, to listen to this wonderful conversation. But now as a grown-ass woman who has big shit to do in this world, it is maladaptive. And those are really the patterns that we're interfering with. So to notice the discomfort is also to notice what behavior starts to come on the scene in an effort to bring you safety, right? Which then pushes the discomfort out because your system knows it so well. And now you're going, I don't want to be this way. But your nervous system is like, sweet, she's not going to die. We're good. And then you're in this battle between your potential and your survival patterns.
Sweet, you're not going to die. We're good. In that moment, you sounded exactly like Rachel to me. Everything about your voice, everything about that energy, and even that statement, I know word for word. I probably have a recording of her saying it in just that exact way. I just have to give voice to that because I told you before we started recording that I continue to feel her and have these moments of just like, oh my gosh, that's like completely Rachel. And for anyone who's listening who knows Rachel, like a student of hers or been in my community, I had to give voice to it because I know you guys heard it. Sweet, you're not going to die is exactly like the tone and everything. Oh, for me, Tracy, it used to manifest itself as my chest tightening. And then it would kind of creep up to my throat. And that's how, and then a clenched jaw. So it's like this whole thing here that happens to me when I'm not activating my truth or speaking from truth. it's chest. And then if it really gets going, it's my throat will tighten up. And I remember years and years ago, probably 15 years ago now, I was working with someone that I was really uncomfortable around. And I worked virtually, but then there'd be times where we had to be in the same space. And when I would come into the same space with this person, I would feel instantly like my throat was shutting down. And it got to the point where I thought I had laryngitis. I woke up one day and just couldn't talk. And I went to the doctor and they were like, you're fine. And I'm like, I can't be fine because I can't, I'm like, like, what do you mean? And I was talking to a girlfriend of mine, Brandy Harvey. She's actually the keynote next week at Redefining Wealth Live. And she was like, who are you not like telling the truth to or telling the truth about? Or like, where are you not? And I was like, like, oh, okay. And so when the tightness, even I couldn't speak for days. And then I was in the room again with that person and I felt like the tightness.
Mm-hmm.
And so I finally wrote an email and said the things. Do you know, like a day or two later, the voice was fine.
Mm-hmm.
Like everything was fine. So that was the first time I recall recognizing the feeling.
Yes.
I'm sure it had happened throughout the years,
Mm-hmm.
but this was in my early 30s. And it was the first time I really recognized, or maybe late 20s, it was the first time I recognized physically in my body what happens when I'm not comfortable telling someone the truth about how their behavior or how they treated me, like it's actually impacting me.
Yes, there's so much coming through right now. It makes beautiful sense that it alleviated as soon as you spoke what you were denying yourself from speaking, which is why I talk a lot about self-abandonment, right? Because that's what that is. When we don't speak our truth, we are choosing the other person's comfort over our own honesty. Okay, my legs just felt that. Let that land. Self-abandonment and self-betrayal has to be a non-starter for you, because every time you allow that, and it's a pattern in every woman until it's not, every time you allow that, you are abdicating your power again. You are saying what you think of me is more important than what I think of me. You are saying your comfort is more important than my truth. Absolutely not.
And what you think of me is more important than what I know to be true about myself. It's not even what I think about myself. It's what I know to be true about myself.
Yes. But also let's talk about the detriment of every time you self-abandon in that micro moment where you don't use your voice. You're actively knocking down your own confidence. You're actively knocking away your own ability to trust yourself, because now you're sitting there going, I'm not doing the thing I know how to do. And the only way the psyche perceives that is, see, I didn't do it again. See, I didn't do it again. See, I didn't do it again. And then you wonder why you're struggling with trust, because you're not showing up in integrity. Integrity and trust are married.
Ooh, yes. Tracy, I hear people right now saying, but how am I supposed to say the thing to my mom, to my spouse, to my best friend of 25 years? Like, how am I supposed to just now all of a sudden be able to say the things?
Yeah. So number one, you decide that you're not going to allow this conversation and this clarity that you feel in your body to be a moment in time that passes you by. Okay. I want to be really clear. We are here ensuring the legacy of Rachel. Rachel has left her physical body. In moments like this, because I too have experienced a lot of loss, we have this clearing, this knowing, this awakening, right? We're posting about her. I watched every memorial. I was like, and I didn't have the honor of knowing her physically, but she and I are so connected spiritually now, it's ridiculous. And we have this moment, the loss occurs, everything becomes crystal clear. We know exactly what we're available for. We know exactly what we're not available for. We're no longer tolerating this. We're going to show up like this. We're going to make offers like this. We're going to make sure our relationship does this. Boom, boom, boom. And then 3 weeks goes by and it's still there, but you're not really doing it. And then a couple more weeks goes by. And then now it's March of 2026 and you're back to the same limitation and the same shrinkage. Okay. The way we honor a legacy and the way we honor someone who has made an impact, who is no longer physically here, is to take from that and become different as a result of it. And if you don't become different, then you're not getting it, right? So you do it for that explanation, and you also do it to know things can't be momentary hits of inspiration. It drives me nuts. It's one of the things that I die on the sword over. There's inspiration everywhere. But if you don't activate the inspiration through practical application, it's useless. And that's when we get to the end of our life and we're looking back and we're like, oh my God, I should have, I could have, I would have. Damn it. And it's over. So that's the level of decision I need you to be coming from. So let's just be there. Because when you really understand what decision means, it is to cut yourself off from anything but what you decided. And then you do the work again and 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 again in alignment with that decision.
With that decision. First of all, I've had chills for
maybe my body is like with you.
My body is just like for like 2 minutes, just full blown. I feel it. And again, our connection is so real because just 2 days ago, I spoke on how I make decisions and I gave them the same. In the Redefining Wealth app, I was like, here's how I make decisions. Like, once you make a decision, you cut off all this other stuff. Like, you're just still leaving too much open. Yes. Once you decide, I move confidently in that direction and give God something to bless with whatever I have. You know, people are like, well, my soul feels like I should be at Redefining Wealth Live, but I don't know. And I'm like, well, did you even block the time on your calendar? Have you looked up a flight, or are you just making an assumption about what you can or cannot do? I'm like, once I decide that I'm going to do something, I just keep taking steps over and over and over again in alignment with that decision.
That's right.
That is what it means to just be decisive. But we leave ourselves open to so many things to come in and completely thwart whatever it is we say we desire. And I do believe most of that is because of maybe whatever limiting beliefs, but that overarching like desire for external validation. Like the number of people like, I want to come, but if my friend says, when my friend, like, what? Just decide.
Yeah. Be safe and secure and grounded within yourself and lead yourself, and then let your friends decide if they want to come because you're going. Don't be the reverse, number one. Number two, the thing that really stops, to use your words, like we leave so many things open, it's because of fear. It's because of fear. My TED talk was on fear because I studied risk and risk perception and the biology of fear and nervous system's relationship with fear. And how could we have a desire for something, but then do nothing, right? How is it that we're like, ooh, I want to go to that. But then all of the thoughts, which are optional, like you said in the beginning, start to come in and we don't realize that they're optional. So we attach to the thoughts, and those thoughts perpetuate the identity that we've been operating in. And then once again, we're back at, I really want all of this stuff, but I'm not acting like the version of me that already has all of this stuff. So then the real answer to this, once you are willing to be courageous enough to decide, because it is a courage-based thing in the beginning, because you have to have full faith, because decision is related to faith, because the decision, your results are a lag indicator. You don't decide and then the results like, boom, hello, I want apples. There are apples falling from the sky. That's not how generating and manifestation even works energetically. So once we decide and you're like, yeah, I'm going to decide because I can already play out the trajectory of my day, my life, my experience, because I watched this movie. It's who I am right now. I need to become a different main character. And then that becomes the how. You need to develop a deep, deep, obsessive love affair with the future highest self version of you. And you need to learn in micro moments, practical application. That is our sweet spot. That's what the choice method is. How to let her lead in the moments where the old self wants to reign supreme. How to let her lead before there is anything in your reality that tells you it's remotely feasible. how to let her lead when your nervous system is jacked up because you're making an unknown decision, and how to bring safety to your nervous system on demand. Because if you don't make it safe, she will never lead. That's the how.
I love this conversation about safety and how you talked about your brain is just always going, is it safe or unsafe? Is it safe or unsafe? One of my coaches has this thing where she would say, I bring my safety with me. So when people say, oh, I'm just looking for a safe space, she's like, I'm safe in any space because I brought my safety with me. That's a part of what your choice method does then,
yes,
right? It's like,
it's the deepest part of untethering from the outside, creating the inside, right? Because we were all raised to think our safety and security comes from someone else, somewhere else, or something else. And realizing, and I love how she phrased that, right? Because the truth of the truth of the truth, come at me, there's no gray here, is that you are safe and secure within yourself always. It's simply that your nervous system imprint isn't imprinted for that yet. So it might not really believe it. So then you like, right. And then there's limiting thoughts and But when you ultimately go, hold on a second, I now understand what the felt sense of safety feels like in my body. I understand that my relationship with me is the variable that elevates and shifts everything in my life. And I understand that I know how to make it safe because I'm safe within myself. So you always belong wherever you go, and you're grounded. And that's when you're really watching a woman in her power. And you feel it. You feel it. She walks in the room, right? And you're like, woof, who's that?
Exactly. And I believe from that state, you are magnetically drawn to other women in that state. So when some people feel uncomfortable being in a room of women, I don't ever feel uncomfortable in a room of women. I'm never thinking, what are they thinking of me? I just feel like I'm like a magnet, which is how we started this. I said, soon as you came on the screen and you started talking, I leaned in. I was like, oh my gosh. And not just because of the words, it's the energy. It's something deeper than that. And then when I walked in the room in the event, you stood up and hugged me like we were old friends. And we embraced like, girl, I haven't seen you in 200 years. How have you been? And it just felt, you guys, seriously. And then Tracy, so this audience knows all about my daughter, Reagan. And, she came with me to Hawaii for our mastermind retreat this summer, and the ladies really got a chance to get to know her and spend time with her and hear the way she speaks and all those things. And I remember sitting with you, talking to you a little bit about Reagan, and you talked about your daughter. What's her name?
Taylor.
You talked about your relationship with Taylor, and I was like, I feel like it's very similar, like that just closeness and connection. I just want to give voice to this. I feel like this is coming up because Rachel also has two daughters, Isabella and Valentina. And I want to give voice to what is possible for women around our age who embody this teaching and understand the power of this level of awareness and the practical application of it all, and how that it has the power to change this next generation. Because our daughters, they will have their own experience, but baby, my daughter is light years ahead of where I was at 18 years old.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for opening this door. Okay. It's a concept I call expander parenting. It's a new paradigm that I wrote up. And the old school parenting is martyrdom, limitation, be everything for your kid, overfunction, save them, sacrifice yourself, prioritize them, Expander parenting is when you know that the most profound way to love your child is to tap into the most unlimited, fully expressed version of you. To really, really focus on who you're capable of becoming and how much of your unlimited potential you can experience and enjoy in this lifetime. Because when you are in that state, you are co-regulating, modeling, and dripping something completely different into them. There's something I teach as the drip process, right? It's like when your great-great-grandmother dripped into your great-grandmother, who dripped into your grandmother, who dripped into your mother, who dripped into you. And all of the limitation and all of the paradigms that we need to move away from and all of the power that women possess relies on our generation who's alive here during the consciousness revolution, where all of these conversations are being had and all of these modalities are available that were not available to them, so that we can change what's being dripped, because the drip is inevitable. Hear me, the drip is inevitable. What you're dripping is your choice. And I watch women ask me all the time, because they meet my daughter and they're like, what is that? I don't sit and teach her things on the side. She observes me. Her college essay had a paragraph about, I watched my mother ascend from a single parent on food stamps to becoming the founder of a multi-million-dollar personal growth company for women. And what I know now is that I'm actually limitless and I can do anything I want.
Tracy.
Yes, go ahead.
This whole conversation, I just cannot stop. Like with the tingles in my arms, like just this, the little hairs on my arm standing up. This is so powerful. Dr. Tamar Bryant said, you know, the generations before us may not have had the luxury of healing, but we do. But we do. And when I watch my daughter in the same way you watch Taylor, and when people interact with her, when they see her, she stood up at the end of me teaching on my day to teach in Hawaii. And I was not expecting her to say anything, to take the mic. She was just supposed to be in the back of the room to help pass some things out if necessary. And I posted it on Instagram, and I'll link to it in the show notes and I'll text it to you.
Tell me.
The way that she spoke about me, which I knew that, but she said to the ladies, she said, I know that one conversation with my mom will change your life, right? And I'm sure you guys have experienced that this week. But imagine, I've gotten 18 years of this. So when you see me, this is just a reflection of her parenting. She wasn't even 18 yet. She was 17 at the time. She said, when you see me, this is a reflection of her parenting. And baby, there was not a dry eye in that space. And similar to you, people come up to me or other moms at her high school, when she was in high school or whatever, and they go, what did you do? And I'm like, I think the question is, who was I being? It was who I was being in her presence.
Yes.
When she was little and people would try to shame me for doing my work, you know, we were in an area where it was like, more than not, people were, you know, you got to bake cookies and come to the school. I'm like, I'll stop at Publix, but baking cookies, it's not my ministry, you know? And they're like, well, you're gone and you're doing this. And I would say, just as much as I was born to be Reagan's mother, I was also born to do the work that I do in the world. And the greatest gift that I can give her is giving myself permission to do that work and allowing her to see it, allowing her to be in the room, giving her these opportunities to hear the highs and the lows of entrepreneurship, and when ideas go phenomenally well and when they fall flat, and how I pivot and how I still keep my energy up and how I take care of myself. It's not me telling her, it's me being the thing so that she knows what she can be.
Yes, because it's what you're modeling by who you're being. And when you're focused on the being in this conscious, elevated, truly unlimited way, the frequency of that, your electromagnetic field that exists many, many feet outside of your physical body starts to entrain, right? The state of your nervous system when you're in this state of being is co-regulating safety and groundedness and power. Who we be is what our children become and model, which is also why I'd be remiss to not say, stop trying to help your child feel better, be more confident, do more, whatever your desires are for them. if you are not actively committed to your own growth and ascension, it is literally like, stop wasting the money, stop wasting the effort, stop wasting your time, because you're putting them back in the home and the environment where you are still treating yourself like shit and having anxiety and being dysregulated and doubting yourself and not going after your stuff. And then you're wondering why whatever they're invested in isn't working. The truth is the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And you are the thing that is going to help them shift the most. And this brings us right back to the top of the conversation, which is, yeah, you might be a little nauseous right now. And yeah, you might be like, I really think I hate Tracy right now, and I'm good with all of it. Because if I am not helping you either sit taller and stick your boobs out, or getting you a little agitated because you're realizing, oh, damn, then I'm not doing my job.
Mm-hmm. I am okay with a little discomfort.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I'm okay with sprinkling out the discomfort,
Yes.
you know, and at the event Full Circle that I spoke at, and I think I missed you and you missed me just because of the timing, right?
Yes.
So you guys, we didn't even get to see each other speak. This was just all like sitting in the back of the room at the table and loving on one another. But I said some things on the stage and I was like, and I'm okay if I've made you uncomfortable and you've decided you don't even like the lady in the yellow suit. I'm okay with that. I'm still going to leave here knowing that I came to deliver what was deposited to me to deliver. And I'm all right. You may think about me later, a year from now, and go, you know what? That Black woman in the suit said, and I'm all good with it. It is okay.
Yes.
Oh, Tracy, you know, I said, I want to talk to you all day. And I can't even believe how the time has flown by. But I know that this conversation has been such a blessing and definitely really extends Rachel's legacy as it was designed to do. And I'm so grateful for you being the first in this Permission to Offend season. You talked a lot about practical application. As we wind down here, what is the big thing that you want the listeners to take away today?
I want you to take away that you are whole and worthy and enough and lovable simply because you're breathing. And that's the truth of your inherent birthright. And anything that goes against that is the lie. And when you allow yourself to realize that maybe it was just like amnesia, and now I'm back and I realize the truth, then you realize how much energy comes flooding back to you because you're not expending it and leaking it, doubting yourself and questioning and all the energy that goes to that limitation type stuff, so that you can show up and shine, right? All the platitudes that we all post, but like, be that, right? And be unabashed and activate your truth. And I talk a lot about being a disco ball, like shine, spin. Yes, get that brilliance, get that radiance out in the world. So other women and everyone in the world is like, what is that? And they come towards the light and you're spreading the light. And sometimes because a disco ball is a mirror, people are activated or triggered. And it's like, you're welcome, sweetie. It's a gift. What are you going to do with it? Right? Like, I need you. We need you to rise. And to rise, you need to know you are whole. And that is not a negotiable fact.
So good. So good. I am going out into the world today as a disco ball. That's right. I may just stop and twirl. I'm known for a little twirl anyway. I may just stop and twirl. This was so good, friend. How do people stay in touch with the Tracy Litt?
Thank you. At the Tracy Litt on Instagram is the best place. I'm in my DMs, so message me, tell me what resonated. I'm here for you. We rise together and I am available. So the Tracy Litt on Instagram is the best place.
Love it. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for you. I need to close by saying thank you, Rachel. What an honor. What an honor that you graced the world physically. What an honor that I got to be the first conversation in this absolutely game-changing season. And may you touch as many souls in heaven as you did on earth.
Amen.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Tracy. I appreciate you. We'll talk soon.
Love you. Can't wait.
Love you. You guys, was that not absolutely incredible? I know that you were blessed by this episode. What I hope you got from this brilliant conversation is, just as Tracy said, that the real abduction of power happens when we live in these stories in victimhood of not knowing who we truly are. And then we become a match for that identity as opposed to what we say we desire. And I want you to remember that if this felt uncomfortable, good, because discomfort is a part of growth. It is a part of expansion. It is the thing about transformation that people don't always like to acknowledge. And it means that something old is dying so that the truth can live on. And this has all been about activating your truth. It is the first chapter in Permission to Offend. And just remember, as Tracy said, safety isn't just, out there. As my coach would say, you take it with you, but you have to be willing to do the work to help you take it with you. And I know Permission to Offend is such a beautiful part of allowing yourself to do that work. So make sure you tap in with Tracy. Grab your copy of Permission to Offend. In the Redefining Wealth app, we are currently in a book club reading, or for many of us, rereading Permission to Offend. And this time, as Tracy said, we're not going to just let it be a moment. We're going to remind ourselves that we get to do the work over and over and over again. We are tired of looking up and realizing that, wow, we just allowed ourselves to go right back to shrinking, to diminishing, to dismissing. No, this time, I need you to get it in your spirit. This time, we are going to do the things. This time, we are making a decision to cut off all other possibilities, and we are aligning with that decision every single day. And for those of you who also have daughters like Taylor and Reagan, or Isabella and Valentina, or you have nieces, goddaughters, young women who are around you, remember that when you get to be that disco ball for them, you show them what's possible. We are healing generations backward and forward because we're the women willing to rise and do the work. And I am so grateful that so many of you allow me to do that work with you in, redefining wealth. You can also, again, check out Tracy in the School of Becoming. I don't care where you go to do the work. I just want you to know that there are great resources out here to support you, because this takes effort. It takes support. Greatness is not created in isolation. And sometimes you need to be reminded that you are safe and that you do have tools and that there are brilliant people who are waiting to lock arms with you and walk this journey with you. I'm so grateful that we got to have this time together, and I'll be back next week with another brilliant conversation that helps us continue the legacy of Rachel Luna and Permission to Offend right here on the Redefining Wealth podcast. Until next time, I want you to go live your life's purpose, find fulfillment, and continue to earn more without ever feeling like you have to be someone who chases money. I'll talk to you later.